Okay, I am back for part 2 of the Midnight pouch, or Memory pouch it should be called, but the first line is Midnight, not a sound from the pavement. And I have wound on the dyed thread onto just a bit of card for now. I couldn't find any of my little winders. And I've ironed all of the pieces, so I've got a little stash here. And I'm thinking that this is a good base. So I know it's not going to quite fit in, but if it's about this deep and maybe about this wide perhaps, it's going to be a good size. But I thought that I would do it inside out so that this pattern on the inside looks a bit like, when you look in, it's a bit like the rain on the pavement. That was the thought I had about it. And because of course this will have things all over it. So what I have to decide is, am I doing a little flap over the top? I think I might. And maybe possibly just this sort of about this much overlap, and I'll have it coming maybe down to about there. So what I want to do is mark that. So it's going to go like that and like that. So the reason I've just marked that is because I'm going to stitch it flat, and these marks will remind me that the flap that's going over here is going to be the thing that you see. This will be the complete back, and when you lift this up, this part here needs the sort of a design that it doesn't matter if it's covered, maybe, you know, so it's perhaps a little bit flatter rather than, you know, some more things that are sticking up from it. And then when it's done, you will have the pouch inside. Just because I'm stitching on this side, then I'll know. So this is how it looks. So now I know this is the flap that we're going to see. This is going to be the back, and that's the part that the flap's going to cover. And the only other thing I haven't done is mark the centre where the bottom of it's going to be compared to the back and the front. So I'll just finger press a little seam there and there. And I'm just going to put a little mark there as well, and that way I'll know this is the front of the pouch that's on view, and this is this from this line to that line are the pouch that's at the back, the full back. So now I can start. So I've ironed all my pieces, and I'm going to start with some of the bigger, darker bits first, to build up the layers. Now I've got 2 of these. One's lighter, one's darker. I quite like the light one, but I definitely want to start with the darker first. So I've got just something a bit darker to add lighter to. At the moment, I'm not worrying or thinking too much about the seams. If I put this one down, I'll know that this is going to be on the fold. So I'm not, like I say, I'm not worrying too much about the side seams. I can worry about them later. I just want a piece that's all stitched down. If I do this, then this line is going to be the overhang, like so. So I think I'm going to have to keep on, just so I don't lose my bearings, but just keep on keeping a record of where that line is once it's covered. So I can see. So now this is the back. And of course the back is going to be facing this way. This will be the top and this will be the bottom of the back. So what do we need? We need some more pieces that are good base layers. Still haven't quite decided if I want to keep this like this. I think I do. This is also another good base layer. I might even use this one on that seam, so I've got a mark for where the bottom of the base is. That just will help. So I'm going to build up layers, thinking always about my midnight, not a sound from the pavement. Smoky, smoky. Sound of morning. I have to get the lyrics up. I did actually used to sing this song, but that's a long time ago. Okay, so just going to trim a bit. All these lovely old bits of material, get all these threads. Ready to be used another time. Okay, just pin these bits. Often I find the back is just as important as the front. I always like to turn mine over and have a look at how the back's looking when working on these. Okay, let's just have a fold. Now, why is that weird? Oh, because this is going to go like this. It's got to be confused for a minute there. This will be going like that. So I need something along this top bit. I like this being a little bit heavy, actually, this material. Still don't know what it is. It's like a very heavy damask or something like that. Okay, we're going to put this along here. I'm going to cut this edge. Let's get this everything out the way. I don't think this material rips very easily. Just building up. I'll give it a try. Oh no. Okay. Get these big scissors. Okay, so this is going to be the flap. This will be up under here. That's going to flap over there. So I've got my base layers. Got a strip. So this will be what the back is looking like. What I need to do is just have something of interest. On here. I'll get rid of these scrappy bits. Can always leave them out a bit and rough them up a bit later, but just for now, while I'm just keeping it neat for a minute, thinking about this. Because I was thinking about darker layers. I'm going to put this under though. It's not going to be on a fold line, so it'll be all right. So this is the inside. Here's my marks, my little lines, so I know where this is coming up to. This is my flap over. And let's just look at the back. Yep, so there's big bits of material filling up each of the areas. Just cut this one bit. So we're ready to go. I think I'd like to start with this first bit. Just bearing in mind that I don't want to be too fancy in this panel from here to here because the flap's going to come over. Finger press the flap too, so I know where that is. Really love this Hessian-y thick piece. I love that piece too. So I definitely want some of the more interesting pieces here on this flap bit. So I'll do a little bit of work on that. Okay. All right, I've got a long way to go, but this is a really good start. Really, really love this edging. I definitely want that to somehow show. Love that. I could even just decide I'm leaving this just like that. It's got enough interest. It's got the patterns and everything. This had a bit of masking tape on, so when it's been dyed, it stayed a bit like that. It's actually a little bit sticky, unfortunately, but you can see where the tape was. It's disturbing me that it's a bit sticky. However, I would have loved it. If it wasn't sticky, I would have loved it as a contrast colour. In fact, it might be really good to just, this is just really for my own benefit, just to put this along here as a reminder that anything above that line shouldn't be too ornate for now. A shame about that sticky bit. I love that extra tone there. Never mind. Okay. All right, we're starting to get underway. I've got lots of things like this to add in, but I definitely, that's too samey. I need some of the darker ones. Here's a bit more of this Hessian. That might be good on the back. Very gothic Victorian in a way. Love it. It's funny when we're at this stage because it's like, oh, is that even going to be anything? But you know, time and time again down the track that it's very much something. Loving this little patchwork collage. Let's get it like that and see if this works over here. Don't mind that, don't mind that. I think I'd like to keep that on the outside. So I always have a think at times like this where I think, do I like this? Do I like this little bit? And I love this line and I love this, and I can actually, this is fabulous for just, you know, just getting a few of those threads out and getting a really lovely edge. Love that. I think I'd like this to be back here, sort of, a bit more of that purple through there. Going to always come back to this to double check it. So I've also got some of this and this flower's not complete. There's a complete flower here that I may be able to stitch over. As a highlight. So I know it's not, you can't really see it as well. Maybe you can if I put it in the light like that. But that is something that could look really good there, or really good here, stitched over. It's got a bit of a raised surface on this side and a more satiny look on this side. Still a bit of a raised edge. I know it's going to be harder to see. I think that's the back. So I kind of like that for here. So to be at the front of the pouch, so you'll be able to see it. and always have to remember to look underneath the new bit to make sure there's not a pin underneath it. All right, so I've got a bit of a start on this. I'm going to go and get these all bits down, possibly add some other bits. Like, I love this bit of lace, and that might be just perfect here on the edge. I just love that. It would be nice if there was more of it, but that's okay. There's 7, so I think I'll put this here. Or this one. Like that. Do I want this over that? No. So I might move this one over a little bit. I just felt that and went, oh, that's lucky. Lucky I caught that one. Although you can get them out, you know, it's not too much of a problem if they get stuck in under there. There is always a way to get them out. Okay, I like that so far, and I like that that's going to be a point where I can add some stitching. Even this one's got a nice bit of an edge here. You can see it. That might be good along the edge of there. It's just so much fun to play. There's so much here that is exciting and interesting, and that we can just noodle doodle around with and play with. Love it. So I'll keep playing. I'll go off and I'll do a little bit more. I'll do some stitching and I'll come back and we'll see where we're at. Okay, I'm back. So this is where I've gotten to. So aside from using the thread that I dyed, I've also been using a little bit of just a brown. I've got this variegated black to, well, a lightish grey, so that's been fun. And I've got this light grey as well, and this is where it's at. This makes me smile so much. This was in the stash from the lady who went to the had to join her husband in the dementia home. I must find out her name actually. So she has a name, and so was this. So this was some of her beading, and I just thought it looked a bit like an M. Maybe that's a bit far-fetched, but M for memory. I've stitched on Has the Moon Lost Her Memory, and that's in the variegated. So I've got that one to stitch down. I've actually blanket stitched this side seam. I'm up to this. I've got to put this one on over. So I generally use that colour, the dyed colour, to stitch everything down so it blended in. Then I just put a little bit of this light grey along here as a little bit of a feature. And on the back it's all stitched down. That's stitched down, and I've got to stitch this. This reminded me of the moon coming up over the horizon, so that's got to go on. But I thought I would just do a little bit more on filling in these little daisy stitches, lazy daisies. On this background. So it's not quite exactly how this flower looks on the pattern on the material, but I thought this is representational of, at a glance, what it looked like. Quite enjoying this. I know everyone's loving those bright pouches, but I'm really just enjoying a kind of a mixed tone, like tonal but variations on the one tone. What am I calling it? I'm calling it mixed tone. Let's just say it's actually monotone. A monotone palette. So I'm just doing each of the petals. I'm doing a largest Lazy Daisy on each side of this large petal, and then coming in the middle here and filling that in with 1 to 3, depending on the size. I'm actually really loving it. And because it's not that visible, in fact, when I was looking back at the footage, I thought it was more visible than it is actually just in a normally lit room. But at a glance, in normal light, you really don't necessarily see that pattern too well. So to me, that's fine. Creative license. So part of the challenge with our pouches, there's always meant to be 3 things: thrifted stuff, trinket, and trim. So I'm managing quite a bit of trims. I'm not always managing a trinket, and I have to say I just don't actually think trinkets are my style, not always anyway. So I just don't always get a trinket on, and you know, I'm going to be fine with that because we still have to do work the way we do our work. I will attempt to try and remember, but I may not always remember. Alright, so aside from just normal stitching, this has got a leaf here which I'll do. And I've got to stitch that on. I think that the back can get a few more embellishments as well. Now also, one of the other things about this is the excitement of whether something is going to fly or whether it's going to be a keeper. I have kept every one of my pouches except the first one, which was January, where I made 2 pouches. And it's going to sound weird, maybe it's a me thing, but I like to have a record of what I've made. So I gifted the pouch from January, the second one, and I did make 2, so I have 1 to gift and 1 to keep. Because on the January pouch, the little glass fishes had a special memory for me. So Christy from Sew Bits Christy I gifted when I met her in person. And I've got a little bit of a thing of, I decided that I wanted to give them in person. Unless there's someone overseas that I really connect with, I feel like I enjoy the actual handing it to the person and not telling them ahead of time that they're getting it, and just the joy of seeing that they're really surprised. So I've made another pouch. Okay, so this one will be flying, and this pouch, I want to show you where I'm at. That's just basic stitching, and that's my pouch, so that's okay. This one, I got this off that lady again. So that lady had a big bit of beautiful beaded, where she'd practiced all different types of beading, which is, they were all close together. So it was some of this and it was some of this. And it was on, I don't know if you can see, it was on a very, very fine, very, very fine material. So technically, you almost can't see it because you see the beading. So this is just something really, really special to cut up her bits of beading and put them in the pieces. So this pouch is flying, and I don't want to say who it's going to because I don't want to spoil the surprise, but that person actually inspired me to make this particular pouch. So the person has a lot of tattoos and is a little bit gothic. So someone might guess who that is out of our stitchy circles. That's a bit exciting. So it's going to be fun because someone will probably try and guess in the comments who that is, and I know someone will know who it is. So I'm just stitching down this bit of beautiful sequin work that the lady had done, just kind of coming outside the sequins and then going down through one of. So I'm just stitching down these sequins by coming up outside onto that material and then going down through one of the sequins. So the sequins are already attached to that backing material. This is just my way of securing it down onto the pouch. It's quite fun to know that this is going to someone and that I will be giving it to her when I see her in person next time. Enormous fun. So let me show you the rest of this pouch before I finish the stitching. So I've blanket stitched down the sides, one side. I've done a bit of a, so let's have a look at it so far. Midnight, I felt that the lazy daisy little daisy flowers looked like stars. I loved that. This reminds me of a bit of a glam, glitzy, go out in the middle of the night dancing kind of affair. I have not finished this flower, but I've sort of done a running stitch around all of the parts, and I'm not sure. I'm thinking, I'll see how I go. That'll require something. I've blanket stitched one side, but because I'm not sure if I've finished this side, I will blanket stitch that later. The back is still yet to be decided. I've got still some trims, and I don't know if you remember when I was dyeing this that I'd stamped those little buttons, and somehow when I dyed it, it had washed out the colour of the stamp but not dyed, which is fascinating. Isn't that interesting? You can see the buttons, and that was just from a stamp. So I wanted to feature that. So I'm possibly going to be putting that on, or that's something I've got to put on. I have got some bits of, there's already a bit of that thicker cheesecloth there. I just don't want to cover up those. I want them to be able to be featured. So that'll be there. I do think I need something decorative on the back. I really love this piece. I've still got my sand dollar. That can go on here, but I'm not quite sure that it makes any sense with the pouch. Do you know what I mean? It's like, buttons are okay because they're kind of part of our stitching world, and it's a pouch with stitched ideas. But a sand dollar is kind of, I know I was making them for my mermaid wall hanging thing, It doesn't make sense. So you know what? I think it's just going to be popped in as a gift. All right, let's just pin that down. Because the front is getting quite full of ideas. And there's one more thing, a little surprise. Pop! There we go. Sand dollar goes inside. I can still put in a couple of other bits and pieces. I've got some more of this still. Got some more of that. Don't know. Anyway, I'm going to finish all of this off and come back and show you the end result. Okay, I finished, and this is the pouch that's going to fly. It's got a little surprise inside. Back, I've kept it a little bit understated on the back. I always think it's nice, you know, later you can come back to it, or if it's flying, that person can put their own touches to it, which is lovely. So that's the one that's flying, and this is my one that's staying here. Possibly, I might just add more things to it, but I'm going to wrap up this series and get on to this month's prompts and the new pouch. Hope you've enjoyed seeing something a little bit different. And I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.